Good morning. It is the first full week in the year 2022, and as usual, we are here this Monday morning to set your week on a great trajectory. Welcome to Good Morning Abuja. I am Aisha Kari Sherif. The program promises to be educative, entertaining, and of course, enlightening. But before we do that, we'll start with our motivational talk with Victor Atokolo on Do It Now.
Anything worth doing is worth doing now. Many times our bodies don't want to do it now because the body always wants to rest. So if you consult your body, you are going to be lazy and you're going to procrastinate. The mind also reacts to push and effort. That's why many of us didn't like exams when we were in school. Not as if exams were bad, but you know that during exams you have to exert your brain a little more. And the mind naturally recoils from that. And so you tend to procrastinate and postpone making the effort. But remember what I said. Anything worth doing is worth doing now. You see, this is the thing you should understand about life. None of us has a hold of the past. There's nothing you can do about it. The past is past. So you can only let it pass. You can do nothing about the future in actual fact. We can only dream about it. But there's nothing you can do to amend, improve, or shape the future. It is the present that you always have control of. Every one of us lives in today. And when you rise up today, if you can give your best to every effort, give your best to every assignment, give your best to every duty, give your best to every challenge, you can make a success of today.
Welcome back from our motivational talk on Do It Now. Stop procrastinating and do it now. And up next is our Keep Fit segment on swimming. Do you know that swimming is also another part of exercising? Anyone can do swimming. Let's take it now.
Swimming is an act of moving through the water without touching the bottom to paddle oneself by natural means. It's a whole body workout. A pool is the first place to be if you want to look good and be in a good shape. Here are some benefits of swimming. It keeps you in a good shape, and when you swim, you can burn about 500 calories in an hour. In addition to blasting calories, swimming also builds up your muscles and metabolism. The irony of swimming is that while water is kind to the body, it makes you feel lighter and weightless. You can swim almost every day without risking injury. According to the American College of Sports, swimming can make you look 20 years younger than your actual age. Swimming is one of the best exercises you can do. It's a whole body workout.
Swimming helps me to cope with depression. I actually failed an exam yesterday, and all I wanted to do was just to dip. So I was in water 2 hours yesterday, and I've been in the water since I think around 12 today. So swimming is the only exercise that utilizes the whole body muscles. So it helps to keep your tummy flat, build your biceps and your chest muscles, your thigh, every part of the body. With swimming you can build them. And if you see someone that swims regularly, they have uniform body shape, athletic and everything, because you don't have to be doing individual exercises.
You don't have to be an Olympic gold medalist before you get a perfect body and looking younger. Get swimming today.
Welcome back. That was our Keep segment on swimming. Welcome back. The program is still Good Morning Abuja, coming to you from the Unity Station. And now in the studio, we have an oil and gas expert in person of Mr. Michael Uche Okbonu, who is here to tell us the impact of oil and gas in our society or environment. Good morning and welcome to the studio, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much, and good day, Nigerians.
Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Michael, what is the impact of oil and gas industry on our environment?
Okay, thank you very much. The impact of the oil and gas industry in the Nigerian environment, I want to suppose you mean the natural environment.
Yes.
It's not particularly far-fetched. It's evident everywhere you go. Now, the environmental impact of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria is one that needs particular attention. The environment is experiencing a lot of carbon emissions and is precipitating climate change and global warming. And so, in recognition of this fact, the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari, at the recent COP26 conference in Glasgow, Scotland, committed to embarking on projects and initiatives to reduce Nigeria's carbon emissions by 20% by the year 2030 and net zero emissions by the year 2060. So the environment is really suffering. Environmental scientists and environmentalists have called for clean energy technologies in recognition of the fact that the oil and gas industry and the fossil fuel sector has a great impact on the environment. The Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari, during the COP26 conference in November this year in Glasgow, Scotland, committed in Nigeria's nationally determined contribution towards the reduction of carbon emissions, committed that Nigeria will aim to reduce carbon emissions by 20% by 2030, and with the aim to achieve net zero emissions by the year 2060. Now you realize that the oil and gas industry is a major contributor to carbon emissions in the environment. That is why industry experts and environmentalists have advocated for the deployment and development of clean energy solutions and technologies. So while harnessing oil and gas and other petrochemicals and use of same, they advise that such development and utilization of this fossil fuels should be done in an environmentally sustainable manner.
Okay. So, what are the problems affecting the nation's oil and gas and its effects on our society?
Okay.
Or the economy, should I say the economy of the nation?
Okay, yes. First of all, the oil and gas industry is the mainstay of the Nigerian economy. We get at least 80% to 90% of our revenue from oil and gas activities in Nigeria.
Okay.
However, the oil and gas industry is faced with a lot of challenges, such as policy inconsistency. There's always a change of policy directions in the oil and gas industry. Sometimes they are uncertain, and stakeholders in the industry, particularly investors, the foreign investors, find that very disturbing and concerning. And you realize that in the past 5 to 10 years, a lot of them have started pulling out of Nigeria, pulling off their investments from Nigeria, and Nigeria is experiencing a lot of capital flight in that regard. So this is as a result of policy inconsistencies. Secondly, of course, the elephant in the room, insecurity. stakeholders in the industry have always complained about how their infrastructures for the production and transport of energy resources have experienced vandalism, right, and to some extent militancy. Even though the former president Yar'Adua, may God rest his soul, did a lot in quelling the issue of militancy. Yes, but the insecurity situation is still rife, and that is why international oil companies are investing a lot in IT security solutions so that they can man virtually the oil pipelines and other oil infrastructure as a deterrent or as a measure of fighting insecurity insecurity with respect to our oil and gas infrastructure. But that still remains a major issue. Then thirdly, COVID-19. This is the most recent a challenge of the industry. In fact, the pandemic has caused Nigeria to lose a lot when it comes to revenue from oil and gas operations. In 2019, 2020, early 2020, Nigeria was producing about 2 million barrels of oil every day. But the COVID-19 pandemic affected the entire value chain, and Nigeria started our production volume reduced to about 1.6, 1.7 million barrels per day. Yes, even the defunct Department of Petroleum Resources, right now known as the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, while it was still DPR, issued a host of, I think, about 4 or 5 directives with the aim of managing operations in offshore oil and gas installations. First of all, it declared a force majeure in the oil and gas industry, meaning the general or the normal operations of oil and gas, is now being affected by an act of God. So it saw the epidemic as an act of God affecting oil and gas operations, and so it's issued a lot of directives trying to, organize or manage oil and gas workers, and also trying to create a situation of social distancing while working. So it affected the productivity and the efficiency of oil and gas installations. So these are the major problems that the oil and gas industry is facing today.
Okay. Well, every organization has an act.
Yes.
So, in a layman, can you explain the Nigerian Petroleum Act?
Okay, the newly passed Petroleum Act. Yes. Before the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act, which is known as the PIA, what we had in place was the Petroleum Act of 1967.
Okay.
But all through the years, we've been operating the obsolete act up until 2021, when the president, Muhammadu Buhari, decided to act out his political will to sign the PIA into law. Now, the PIA, we came with it a lot of innovations. Some industry experts would say that the PIA is a bit late, because it ought to have been enacted as far back as the 70s. Yes, but some other industry experts will tell you better late than never. But as an expert, some of us who are pundits in the industry, we look at the act and say that, well, the act will probably have about 10 years to benefit Nigeria, after which it may not be a source of revenue for Nigeria as much. But going into the merits of the act, largely it's to be beneficial for Nigeria, at least within this time frame of 10 years, in my own personal opinion. Okay. Yes, the act scrapped organizations such as the DPR, the Department of Petroleum Resources, the Petroleum Equalization Fund, the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency, PPRA, scrapped all of them, and now created 2 regulators for the industry. The first one is the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum
As you
Regulatory,
mentioned earlier.
yes, the NUPRC, which has inherited most of the work that the defunct DPR was performing. The second agency or regulator is the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Agency.
Okay.
Yes. So from the names of both agencies, the first one is to regulate the upstream sector or subsector of the petroleum industry, while the second regulator is to manage and regulate the midstream and downstream subsectors of the petroleum industry. Yeah, there are other firsts in the Act. There is the abolishing of the petroleum profits tax. It has been replaced with the hydrocarbons tax, and also oil and gas companies, hitherto they were not subject to payment of the company's income tax, but right now under the PIA, they have been statutorily mandated to pay a company income tax. Okay. You know, this tax regime, this new tax regime, is aimed to enable the Nigerian government gain a lot of revenue. You know, earn a lot of revenue from the production of hydrocarbons. There are also other innovations. We have for the first time the establishment of the Host Communities Development Fund and Host Communities Development Trust to be established under the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2021, by the operators of oil and gas infrastructure and operations in host communities. So they are the ones to drive the process. So they bring in the community members and they form the board of directors, and they contribute 3% of their annual expenditure to this fund. And the Act also stipulates how these funds will be applied and will be managed and will be expended. 75% of them of the fund has to be expended on capital projects by the community themselves. They will identify the projects and they will implement them. Then 25% of the funds of the fund will be put in a reserve fund, while 5% of the fund will be used for administrative purposes.
Well,
yeah, so
these are on the Act.
Yes, a whole lot.
And I hope the layman will understand all this.
I hope so.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, well, still on the oil and gas, and we know it's one of the biggest economy that brings the nation a lot of money to the economy. And then there are certain, should I say, there's a boom in other sectors that are boosting our economy as well.
Yeah.
So, what advice can you give the people if they should invest hugely? Should they still invest hugely in the oil and gas?
Okay, thank you. It's not an easy yes or no answer to your question. It's a yes and a no. But as a patriotic Nigerian, I would say yes. People should investors should look towards investing in the oil and gas sector. However, in the long term, they will find it very hard to access funds to invest in such infrastructure, oil and gas infrastructure, because the current global trend now is moving towards what we refer to as climate finance or green funds. Most financiers, multilateral banks and even local banks are looking towards funding only clean energy or renewable energy infrastructure away from oil and gas and other fossil fuels.
Something that
so the
look into.
Yes, so while in rounding up, while investors can still invest in oil and gas, they should also look at investing in clean energy solutions which they will marry with their investments in oil and gas. So they will be harnessing this oil and gas in an environmentally sustainable manner, applying technology such as carbon capture and storage, which tends to capture the carbon from the production of oil and gas and store them in depleted natural formations. So they are harnessing fossil fuels, oil and gas and the rest, but they are doing it in an environmentally sustainable manner. So that's the catch there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Michael. Because of time, we'll have to stop here.
All right.
I know you have a lot to tell us. It requires a lot of time.
It's a big industry.
Due to time, we have to stop here.
Right.
Thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate you coming here.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, we've been speaking to Mr. Michael Uche, the oil and gas expert. You've heard him, and he has explained the impact of the oil and gas in our economy, and he has also explained the Petroleum Act, the new Petroleum Act. We'll take a short break, and the program continues.
After decades of saving into government pension schemes, when it's time to collect, many Nigerians across the country get nothing unless they pay.
Okay, let me see what I have here. 1, 5.
But while some retired people sink into poverty waiting for their pension, others are raking it in.
He's entitled to 300% of his basic as pension. He's entitled to 4 cars, replaceable every 4 years. One man.
I'm Yemisi Adegoke, and I want to find out why politicians are awarding themselves huge pensions while ordinary people are having to fight to get anything at all.
When you retire, is like you are in hellfire. You are no more a human being.
Every year in Nigeria, thousands of nurses, teachers, and other government workers retire, expecting to swap their salary for a pension to support them in old age.
My mother was a healthcare worker for 27 years and paid into the pension plan.
We started looking into claims of corruption around pensions when Africa Eye was contacted by Obaji Akpet, a reporter from Cross River State.
When she retired last year, August, she should have started receiving her pension, but she didn't. Like many Nigerians will do, I had to step in to support her financially while she waited.
Life is no money, no nothing, and I cannot do anything. Cannot take care of my family. Even my aged mother is there. I cannot take care of her. Cannot take her to the hospital. So I am just like that, stranded.
She reached out to the pension office in Calabar to find out why. And she was told she would need to pay some money to get her papers moving. Because she was anxious about her pension, my mother paid 6,000 naira.
In past months, 5 months, they said they will not give me arrears.
And then, in October, Obaji got in touch with the pension office. He too told us he was asked to pay a bribe of 10,000 naira, and that's when he got in touch with us.
Safe journey.
We asked him to secretly film any further interactions he had with the pensions officials.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
A month later, he was asked to come to Calabar by one of the officials. Her name is Angela Etta.
So far, my mother and I have made 2 sets of payments, and I still don't know when she'll get her money. According to Angela, I need to pay another person in the department.
Hi, Mrs. Etta.
We're supposed to give up 50 steps. You know, money in our own civil service is a step. The step they give to you and that determines maybe I'll direct you to another person, the bigger person.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
I am off to see Angela again, this time wearing a hidden camera.
Welcome back from that clip, a documentary from BBC African Eye, together with the filmmaker and journalist Obaji Akpet, who is here in the studio to tell us more on that. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Olaji.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
Well, before we discuss about the documentary, you studied linguistics and communication, and now you're into filmmaking. So what propelled that?
Okay, it was when I after doing linguistics, I found myself practicing journalism. I was writing for a couple of newspapers at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, my last contact was the Champion newspaper. I was bureau correspondent for Champion newspaper, and then I did a report that angered authorities.
Oh, really?
So my life was threatened. So I left Nigeria on self-exile. So at the time, I found myself traveling across Africa, getting stranded, trying to manage myself. And then I found myself in Abidjan, that's Ivory Coast, where I had to assist a friend who works for Al Jazeera at the time, manage his studio in Abidjan just to make ends meet. And then when I saw that things weren't adding out, like how can I run away from my own waters, I decided to come back. But when I came back, I was still incognito because I needed to, stay safe and all of that. So, and this traveling across Africa, I needed to tell the stories, my experiences, and all of that. And I knew film had a way, had an extra layer to things. So that's when I began to teach myself film, and all of that. And I had amazing teachers like Ken Bonds, world-renowned documentary filmmakers. I sat in his class, and it was the spinner of all. So why I got into documentary films, like I said, video stories have a way of adding an extra layer to things. So
it tells more of the story.
So that's how I started making films. I saw myself handling the camera, and I can never forget my first commission. It comes like boom. A television station in Amsterdam where I sent them a reel, and they're like, wow, can you make this first film? That's when I started. And funny enough, this morning I just got an email from them. They want me to make another film.
Wow, congratulations.
So that's how I got into documentary.
So you kept the certificate aside, the linguistics and communication certificate aside?
Yeah, would I say I really kept it? A lot of it, you have to embed that into what you do, and you have, while coming into film, you need to show people, I came from a particular background. So all of that comes to, so filmmaking is an extra skill I just picked up.
Okay, so can you tell us more about the Cross River Film Agency you founded, known as Hotel Africa Media?
Okay, Cross River Film Agency was one of my first brainchilds. My journey into working in the international media space would have started long ago. That's in 2013 when then I was working for Cross River Watch.
Okay.
The renowned Agbajalingo, that we call the prisoner of conscience, we were working together. I was also, working there as an undercover, journalist, and then we're doing radical journalism then. When I got a call from, I always don't talk about my career without mentioning Ashonia Ogene. She was working with Al Jazeera then. So I got a call. She asked me to be her local producer on a show. And guess what? The game changed. How much was I receiving? I was getting $200 a day. How much was my salary then on local media? I was getting 10,000 naira basic.
Wow.
So
huge difference.
At the end of that project, I made 700 buck in 3 days, and that 700 buck, I decided, why don't I start up at this production company? So I registered Cross River Film Agency.
Okay.
So when I registered it, things have really changed over the years. After traveling Africa and my whole scope going beyond just a state, because I was in Cross River at the time, I was now in Africa, thinking Africa. So I decided to pitch Tell Africa to Tune Lumelu.
Okay.
And guess what? I'm a fellow of Tune Lumelu Foundation. And today I'm using Tell Africa Media to produce wherever you see my documentaries. So this is like, what would I call it? Let me say appreciation to Tune Lumelu Foundation for what they are doing. I'm a beneficiary.
Wow. So tell us a little bit more about the documentary on the retirement hill.
Wow, retirement hill. I was at the time researching stories on public interest stories because I love public interest. I just believe we all have to put our hands on deck to make our society change. Nigeria, where Nigeria is, it shouldn't be. So just while I was doing research, something happened. Just one morning, I got a call from my mom. She said she was retiring and bride was being expected. I was like, wow, that idea, and all of that. So had the problem with had access stories is the fact that people don't really get to talk, and all of that. And even if you meet people shy away. And here I was, I could convince my mom. I'll tell her, I could give her, oh, I'm your son, so I can't harm you, right?
Yes.
So you can trust me, and all of that. So that's how I pitched Retirement Hill. And then I was the undercover and also assisted in the making. I couldn't have done too many things at the time. So Katie Mark produced it. And then Yemisi Adegoke was the presenter on it.
Okay.
And it was the first fantastic all-black team on the project. And that's how we came about Retirement Hill. And I'm happy about the impact it's making. On the day it was released, the social media exec said something. He said, as simple as this film was, it's the first film that had 100,000 hits on the go.
Wow.
In most of BBC documentaries.
Wow.
So that's when I knew, and if our politicians are hearing, or our leaders, authorities are hearing, not taking care of aged people is a real thing. Because we are all going to get old. If my parents at their age are paying, okay, mom, I had to pay about it wasn't up to 60,000 naira, right, to bribe through. I'm going to retire. What if when it gets to me, I get to pay 1 million naira to get my papers through?
Yeah.
So you see where the leakage goes. So I wish, Retirement Hill doesn't just go through just, although we're considering at the.
We hope it will stop.
Yeah.
With this documentary, it will help stop all the, bribery and corruption that is involved in it.
It is our earnest prayers, and we're looking at even doing a sequel to it.
Oh wow! Okay, so how can other Nollywood filmmakers tap into the potential fountain of the gold mine of documentaries that has emerged?
Yeah. First, I need to say there's a lie out there where people feel documentaries are not go to. People don't see documentaries. What I have learned is if you make a film that people really care about, they go to see it.
But it's not the type of genre of filmmaking that people are used to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think there's really a lie out there that Nigerians don't see documentaries. Imagine BBC Africa Eye Retirement Hill was released one day and we had 100,000 hits. Imagine that for a film. Nigerians are watching, Africans are watching.
Yeah.
So people are interested in topics they care about. It's not enough for you to do a documentary about maybe kind of public sketch documentary, because that's the kind of documentaries we see around where you do about this politician has done this and all of that. people won't go to see such films. So if you're able to structure such genre in such a way, and all of that, and see, the likes of Netflix are buying documentaries. The Journey of an African Colony is making hits. I will see that documentary. I even saw it today. In series, they bought that documentary. It was made by Ola, one of our very own, the historian, an author. Talking about the African history. These are things people care about. So there's an emerging market in it. And if you say filmmaking, who are we? Filmmakers. It goes beyond the genre of just making normal feature films, that Nollywood is known for. So I see documentaries. Documentaries in other places, like I see documentaries premiere in cinemas. They show through cinemas. People go to see them. So if you make a film that people really care about, you invest so much in it, and all of that. I tell you, retirement hell, I don't know if I'm permitted to talk about budgets, and all of that. So it's an emerging market that filmmakers in Nigeria really haven't really tapped into.
Yeah, still learning about it. We're all learning about it.
So it's really it. How much does a minute documentary globally cost? $1,000. That's finished documentary. So if I make a film and it's a 5 minutes, and I'm selling it to a marketer, in this era where there's a crave for content, people want to see content everywhere. Tell me, that's like on the average, that's $5,000, and having $5,000 now, what that means.
Something, yeah.
So BBC Storyworks commissions 5 minutes for $7,000. So as a filmmaker, if you learn that aspect, and documentaries are so easy to pull. I'm about going to, I wouldn't mention just because of my personal security, but I'm about going to a state now, right? To do a documentary. Guess what? It's going to take me just 3 days.
And you're done.
And I'm done.
Interesting.
So you can imagine, so documentaries are, those films that are easy to pull. Easy to pull without hassle. You don't need too many actors. You don't need, you just need talent, probably voiceover if you want them. So it's really an emerging market that the filmmakers should really look into in Nigeria that we haven't really. Kenya has tapped into. Documentaries are coming out of Kenya. I watched Softy by Sam Koko. It was such an amazing film. It premiered in Africa. I'm a very, regular at Africa. So you can imagine. So if people can care about those kind of things, Nigerians would also care. Just make a film that they care about. BBC Africa, I just produced the Black Axe, a documentary on Black Axe. Go check the hits.
I think I'll start watching this.
So you should, yeah. When we start making documentaries that people care about, trust me, they'll go see it.
So you have featured in a film currently in pre-production.
Yeah.
Will you be kind enough to tell us what it is about and what we should expect from it?
Wow. So when I say I'm a filmmaker, filmmaking was actually my core. I also taught myself how to write scripts and also how to produce. And documentary is something you can pull off. So being a journalist and a filmmaker, is the best of a documentary. So recently I decided to branch into narrative film production.
Okay.
And my films are not just going to be such films. They also highlight public interest issues. Yeah, I just throw them about and all of that. It's just So I'm doing a film about a law. This one is paying homage to our legal system, our legal justice system. So I'm doing a film about a law fresher who, is never doing well in her cases, and then she's about to quit, and then a very scandalous case is brought to her table for her to handle. And so in that movie, we're going to see how she navigates through. And she tells herself, after this, if I don't make it, I'm really going to quit.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is in dedication to a lot of lawyers out there who are freshers. I know a couple of lawyers who are already giving up. They say, like, this practice, and all of that. So it's also, that's my dedication. So consider that film as a suit of, if you've seen Suits series in the US, yeah, the Suits of Nigeria, but the difference with this is not episodic, though there might be sequels. It's a film people should really look out to watch.
We'll watch out for it. Yeah. Well, before we let you go, a little advice for people that want to go into what you're doing.
Okay, my advice to fellow filmmakers, the truth is I studied linguistics straight out of Unical in Nigeria, same school like every other person, and all of that. But see me, carrying a camera, I do shoot edits. So I'm always traveling alone, and can do all the things if documentary or if filmmaking is something you want to start with and you can't break the bank at the moment because funding is really a tough issue. Investors have really not understood the whole filmmaking climb in Nigeria. Then I think documentary is something you should start with. You can use their festivals or even television stations that accept movies with your phone. My first film, I made it with my phone. So you just have a camera in your pocket, and all of that. So if filmmaking is somewhere you want to veer into, just teach yourself, how to make films. You may not go break the bank like I did. I had to subscribe to some paid courses. You can start with YouTube videos. They help me a lot. Like if I'm going to shoot, we do that, everyone steals. We go to YouTube, we get to see, how to pull out this shot and all of that. So documentaries is a way to start without breaking the bank. But if you want to break the bank, I'm a legation now. So you have to permit me to make this remark. So if you want to break the bank, how much does a 60D cost to rent? 5,000 naira. You can start with that. Get good audio. Trust me, because audio is as good as the picture. You're good to go. So you start that, and then also have ideas on how to structure a story, because you're bringing people's everyday life in a way that people are going to care to watch. Because if you don't make a good film, why should I care? And as I talk to you, there are lots of international media stations, right? In search, craving for short forms. Like recently I got an open call for local heroes. What's local heroes? Just make a film about one guy somewhere in one corner doing great stuff that people have not heard about.
That's it. Thank you so much.
So that's that. So there's a market there for us. Let's start veering into documentaries. People watch documentaries.
Thank you so much,
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Abaji. We really appreciate you coming here.
Thanks for having me.
And we will watch out for your movies, your documentaries.
Oh wow, thank you.
I think we'll develop that interest in documentaries.
Yeah, I do. So and then, sir, I don't know. There's also something I check our students who study broadcast, right? Trust me, it's almost making me feel mass communication is an anomaly, because imagine 80% of the students who are going to be in class are going to tell you I want to be in broadcast or PR and all of that. They don't want to produce. And being in the broadcast, what are you showcasing yourself as a talent? So you can be hired and fired, right? So you can be hired and fired. Let's develop this culture of, I want to be, I want to own this film, own this, and all that. Production, and that's what the production gives to you. So I hope our educational systems can also fix that too, because if our education system has that right, I'm sure I won't be coming from linguistics, to produce people in the broadcasting industry.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, you've heard from Mr. Obaji Akped, the filmmaker and also a journalist. Documentaries are the new thing. We'll now take our musical break and we'll be right back.